Hi guys, my name is Sarah Elise. I'm an astrologer in Toronto, Canada, and this is a newsletter for my community going out on probably approximately December the 4th, because it's December the 3rd right now, but I don't think I'm going to be able to send this out till tomorrow. Okay, so I missed our full moon newsletter on the weekend. We had a full moon in Gemini on Sunday, and the reason why I'm wanting to put something out is because um, my apologies, first of all, for missing. I have three little children and a very busy practice. And sometimes I'm not able to meet the deadline of coming out with something right before the lunation cycle. But since that time, it's become really, really, really apparent that I need to speak to what's happening in the zeitgeist, in the collective right now, and that I need to impart some kind of information about it. It keeps coming up. I keep bumping up against it like every single day. It's jolting and it's alarming, and I keep having clients affirm it, and I keep having like my own life affirm it, and I know that we're all experiencing it. So I thought it would be I just keep getting the intuition that I need to drop a video about it. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about. This is what I want to say. We are in the middle of what's called an eclipse season. Okay, an eclipse season. Now, every year we have a series of eclipses, usually twice a year. Sometimes there are 4 eclipses, 5 eclipses. It really depends on the nodes of the moon. And you're like, what are the nodes of the moon? Well, the nodes of the moon are very important for us to understand. So I am going to explain them to you a little bit. Here we have the Earth, right? And we have the moon that moves around the Earth in a circle. Simultaneously, we have the sun and the Earth that is moving around the sun in a circle. The place where the ecliptic line of the moon rotating around the Earth meets the line that the Earth is rotating around the sun, at the place where those two circles of orbit collide, we have these 2 points of intersection. Those points of intersection are what we call the nodes of the moon. And they really qualify for us. They're like bookends, okay? They qualify the ends of our lunar experience in the collective at any one time in history. So let's get a little esoteric for a second. Let's pull out of our human experience for a minute and look at things from a higher perspective, okay? We're human beings, we're on this planet, but at some level we're spiritual beings, right? And we're spiritual beings who incarnate here to experience having a human reality. But there's a very transpersonal part of us, as well as a personal part of us. And throughout all of history, we've had mystics and people who've attained enlightenment, and people who've reached and gone to places within their own consciousness structure where they could reach and attain certain levels of consciousness and bring back information that served the collective, right? And at this time, there are a lot of us who are waking up and who are awakened in this reality, because we're going through a massive shift in consciousness on the planet. Conversation for another time. In any case, that spiritual level is always happening, but so is the personal level that we are experiencing, right? And many of us are only aware of the personal level, and that's okay, because we've come here to have a personal human experience. We don't necessarily need to be aware of the fact that we are all a collective, for instance, or that the entire human family is at some level one organism working in an evolutionary cycle within a universal organism that is also elevating and evolving through a cycle. And all of life really is in a process of becoming. It's in a process of evolving or changing into something. There's the concept of the spiral, right? Where we move in spirals. We move in spirals. We move constantly growing, constantly changing, constantly evolving. The way that our collective experience, our human collective experience, is evolving at any one time in history, at any one moment in time, is in some respect defined by the nodal axis of the moon, because the moon is the subjective personal experience of our reality as a human being. It's the way we take the universal energy and the impulses from the cosmic and make them our own, right? We all believe, this is my cup and this is my house and this is my body. But is it? This is my personal experience of me, but is this me? Right? I've had personal experiences where I've gone way out into higher planes and higher places, and I've experienced myself at all levels of consciousness and of subtlety. And I've been me the whole way, but here I am now in this physical form experiencing my human reality. And so the subjectivity of that allows me to have a unique self. It allows me to have a point of individuated reality. And it allows me to, own a cup and have a house and experience relationships and get to play this wonderful, marvelous thing called life. And it's so exciting, right? We all come here for a reason. We come here to change and evolve and grow and experience life. Okay, so I may be meandering a little far out into the cosmos right now. Let's pull it back. Okay, I want to go from the big view to the small here, because I want to describe that we are really a human species. We are really a human collective. There is a collective nature to our consciousness. And as we move into the age of Aquarius, which is, well, a lot of people are saying happening on December 21st of this year. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to discuss that right now. Because I think that's kind of a silly thing to say that there's like one day that we're entering the age of Aquarius, but it is a very auspicious day on the 21st of December. And it's really going to be a real beautiful moment in time. And we want to mark it for sure. And I'm going to talk about it in a video that I'm already planning. But anyway, never mind. Okay, where was I? The point being that we have a collective consciousness that we're a part of, and we're part of this collective species or this collective organized unified field called human. And the collective unconscious is changing and moving and evolving and growing according to the nodes of the moon. And the nodes of the moon are qualifying at any one point in time the lessons karmically that we are collectively evolving through. The south node, and this is simplistic, but let's just make it simple. The south node tends to qualify where we are coming from, or the shadow, or the wrestling match, the dark that we're working through. And the north node tends to represent the remedy for that, or the way that we will resolve the conflict, right? The thing we're learning, the thing we're leaning toward, the thing we're learning about. And so the nodes of the moon change every 18 months or so. And within that 18-month period, there are going to be 2 times during the year when the sun and the moon fall into the archetype that is represented by the nodes of the moon. And when that happens, and when the lunation, the new moon or the full moon happens within a certain degree, within a certain orb of degree from one of the nodes, we get an eclipse. Okay, we get an eclipse because the sun and the moon are close to the node. So there's like an exactitude to the alignment, which is the only way that you can get sort of a perfect eclipse of either the sun or the moon. So this last lunation on, what was it, Sunday, Monday, this was a partial lunar eclipse because the nodes of the moon were south node of Sagittarius, north node of Gemini, and the sun was in Sagittarius and the moon was in Gemini, but the nodes were about 11 degrees away from the sun and the moon, so it was a partial eclipse, okay? On the 14th of December, 14th, 15th coming up, we are going to have a solar eclipse at the new moon of Sagittarius. And that one will be a total solar eclipse because the nodes will be closer. The orb will be smaller. So there will be a complete solar eclipse on that lunation. That means that between the eclipses, the first one that we had last weekend, and then the next one that we have on the 14th, 15th, between those eclipses is what we call kind of like, it's like a gateway. There's like an eclipse gate that opens, okay? If the nodes of the moon qualify the archetypal evolution that the collective is going through at any one time, the eclipses within that nodal, kind of like that nodal kingdom, the eclipses mark times when the collective zeitgeist is changed irrevocably, when there is a breakdown of the patterns that have been, and there is an emergence of the things that need to become. In any case, between eclipses, there's a period of time where we're in like this, it's almost like this change state or like a liminal state. We're like an in-between space where we don't necessarily know what's happening. There's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of altercations and there's a lot of confrontations and there's change because what has been is merging with what is, and what we're learning about is coming up against what we've known, and we're having really intense conversations with ourselves and with each other. And this is what I've been noticing. And so this is kind of what I wanted to speak to today in this video. I wanted to explain this to you guys so that you could understand sort of what the invocation is or what the archetypal energy is in any case. So I want to look first of all at the archetypes of our nodes. We have the South Node in Sagittarius and the North Node in Gemini. And there are a lot of keywords for Sagittarius, but I think the primary archetypal shadow that's presenting is any way that we hold on to a righteous, indignant belief that we are right, that we are sure, we're sure this is it, this is the way it is, this is my truth, and that is the truth, right? And there's like this, almost like this is it. Right? It's like zealotry. It's like, this is it. and it's almost like there's like this fiery, passionate sort of almost to the point of illogic, right? Almost to the point of illogic. It can almost be like almost an inability to see the facts or an inability to let go. And it could be it could be like almost like a fervent sort of dogmatic belief that makes others wrong, or it can be a Pollyannic, overly optimistic belief that only looks at the bright side, or it doesn't really matter. It's just, it's a posture, it's a perspective that keeps us away from the other and in ourself, that keeps us in literally above the other in some way, right? It's interesting that Sagittarius has rules exoterically religion. As you can see how religions kind of operate like this, right? This is the truth, right? This is the truth. This is how Sagittarius in its shadow is operating. It's believing that it knows. Now, this is kind of what's coming up for us at this nodal axis point in history. And the nodes changed. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact month. I think it was like March, April, sometime earlier on in 2020, the nodes shifted. And we started to kind of witness this kind of like this false truth, phenomenon of people saying things and coming up against this and having these ideas, and there's these conspiracy theory here, and then there's this opinion over there, and people saying things that were, I witnessed literal witch hunts at the beginning when the nodal axis shifted. I would read like feeds of my conscious community where I live, and I watched certain individuals be singled out and ripped apart. And then I watched a flock of manic indignation erupt all over the feed, tearing down, shredding people apart for nothing. It was appalling. I had to literally stop going on Facebook for a long time. I couldn't handle it. It was painful. The conspiracy theories, the yelling, the shouting, the anger, the vitriol, it became offensive to me. I couldn't deal with it anymore. It was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I have to pull away. It's like I guess in a way that was my own judgment, right? My own self-righteousness was coming up. I was being judgmental on all of these opinions that were being displayed. In any case, that's the shadow that we're reckoning. That's what we're coming up against with each other, is the way that we hold on to our truth and don't let it go. The way that we will not forgive, that we will not see beyond what we believe is right. And the opportunity that's inviting us is the Geminian quality of open mindedness. I like to think of Gemini as being that quality of not knowing, of empty mind, of the mind that is curious, of the mind that is able to receive information and quantify things and explore things and research things and be interested in each other. I also think of Gemini as being almost an energy of loving engagement, right? Loving communication. Esoterically, Gemini is ruled by Venus, and Gemini is a very non-judgmental archetype. It's mental, it is analytical, it likes to understand facts and figures. So it is a beautiful counterbalance to the righteous indignation. This is the truth. Well, wait a second. Why don't we look at that a little more closely? What are the facts? What really is happening here? Let's do our research, right? Let's look underneath that. Let's look underneath. Let's get lots of different sources of information. Let's look at it from all sides. Why are we afraid of seeing the facts? Why are we afraid of looking at what's true? Really? And then when we get all the information, then we can make an opinion. But not until we've heard all the stories, not until we've heard all the sides. And in our personal interactions as well, Gemini rules that ability to listen to another, right? And to kind of be present with them and to enfold them with our awareness and with our presence that is non-judgmental and that it simply receives. It goes beyond, Gemini in its best goes beyond duality, right? It really does. Gemini in its best is about merging the upper and the lower. It's about harmonizing the human and the spiritual. And it's about opening up a space for compassionate inquiry that allows everybody to have a place, everybody to have a story, everybody to have a truth. It's a delightful complement to a lot of the righteous indignation that's flaring up all over the place. So right now in this eclipse gate, in this time, this liminal space between these very powerful points of evolutionary change in the collective, I'm noticing that I'm coming up against relationships where my own indignation or my own truth kind of flares a little bit, and then theirs does too. And then there are these like moments of confrontation. It's almost like fiery anger. And the opportunity is can I get beyond the concept of right and wrong or black and white? And can I move around the space so that I'm not attached to any one perspective, but so that I'm simply receiving the other with open-mindedness? It doesn't make them right. Let me just caveat that. It doesn't mean the other person is right. It means I am allowing myself to receive them. And I am taking their information in carefully, and I'm analyzing it. I'm adjusting it according to other things that I know. I'm using my logical mind to be realistic and clear. And I am not becoming inflamed and enraged in a pattern of reaction to protect my own truth. Do you understand? So this is the pattern that I'm seeing unwinding itself right now in my interesting relationships and in my clients' relationships. And I wanted to share that with you. So just to be sure about, or just to be clear about this, the archetypes play out at many different levels in many different ways. They play out internally and externally. There are nuances and shades of how they are alive in us. So the way I've described them isn't the be all and the end all of them. It's how I experience them, and it's how I am tracking them. But if you're interested in understanding how this is working in the zeitgeist or in your own personal reality, because as I said in the beginning, the collective evolution happens at the grander scale, but each one of us individually experiences the universal impulse to change. We experience it in our own personal way and our own personal storyline, right? Our own personal narrative, that subjective consciousness of here I am in this human body and I am me. I will experience, but I'm still feeling the impulse from the cosmos. I'm still feeling the archetypal impulse, but it's filtering down through my personal experience. So if you want to identify how this is playing out in your life, if it doesn't trigger you into an identification, research the archetypes a little bit. Research South Node, research Sagittarius, shadow Sagittarius, research Gemini, and do a little digging and see if you can find the archetypal description that makes you that feels relevant to you. Okay. Now I'm going to leave this be. I will be putting out a new moon video, I hope, and my apologies again for my tardiness. I hope this was useful to you in explaining why there's a lot of chaos right now, and I hope that it will enable you to realize that you have some agency within this. And the agency for me, from what's happening in my life, is to move quickly into the detached place, right? To move quickly into a place where I can feel the energy pull, I can feel the drama that's unfolding, and I can remove myself from it, and I can witness it, and I can see, and I can identify it, and I can have compassion for it, and I could even engage with it and in it, and I do, but I can also remain sovereign and remain outside of it. That gives us a little bit more control, okay? A little bit more peace as well. All right, that's it for me. It's late at night. I'm going to bed. I love you all. Bye-bye.